Okay, so let's get to building the rear gearbox here. Sorry, it's been a while since I made the previous set of videos for this, but to be honest, I've been playing a lot of Streets of Rage 4. Okay, so I rebuilt both diffs, front and rear. I cleaned up all the parts, so we can just start putting it back together. Should be pretty straightforward. These two halves here are perfectly symmetric, the left and right halves, so it doesn't really matter which way you go. So I'm going to start with the left, well, with one of the halves, but I'm going to put it on the left side. And the reason for that is because, if I remember correctly, yeah, so what I'm going to do is start with the lace shaft, mounting this to the left side of the, or the left half of the gearbox. So if I remember correctly, yeah, it's been a while since I did this. So if this goes in here, right. So then this has to go in here, like so. Oops. There's a little bearing holder. And this goes in on the other side, like so. So let me just plop this in first. And the slipper hub and slipper clutch, that goes in pretty much after you put the motor plate on. Just gotta wait for that. And this little guy, so this little lip here on the bearing holder has to fit between this bearing and this little end piece here on this pulley. So it's kind of a tight fit. I mean, technically you're supposed to take this whole thing apart, right? So you just have this hub and this bearing, and then you assemble the whole thing. But, you know, imagine you're at the racetrack and you have to, let's say, take apart a part of it and then put it back together. You don't want to take apart the whole damn thing. That's kind of silly. Okay, so we got that on. Oh, it's a little bit. Again, this is a circular part here, so it's not like you can grip this with pliers without ruining that part in order to like hold this and tighten down this screw without making this thing spin. So that's fun. Okay, so you can see there that little lip holds that bearing in place, and there's going to be another one on this side holding this bearing in place from the other plate. Okay, so let's see, what other pieces do I want to put in here? I guess at this point we can put the motor plate on from this side. And that's going to go, well, this is going to go, this is going to go through here. And I have to do 1, 2, where is it? 1, 2, 3. Those three right there. Is that right? 1, 2. Just want to make sure I got it right. 1, 2, 3. So that's going to be, yeah, these three here. Okay. And those are going to go where? Oh, like this. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So these three holes here line up with those three holes. Sometimes it's a little disorienting. Alright, now the fun part. And this we're going to use what 3x15 flathead, so I need 3 of those. Do I have a 3x15? I have 3x16. That should be good enough. What's 1 millimeter between friends? Oops. I dropped one. So here's why it sucks. So I have to take this, put it through here, like so, on all three of these. See, I could just do one, but that's no less difficult. And now you gotta take one. Alright, let's try it with just one. Let's see how badly this works. So that's gonna go through there. Right? And, oh right. Frickin', alright, we can't even start with that yet because we gotta put this roller on first. This is why it sucks. Okay, so we have, okay, these are all set, so that's going to take, what, a 3x8? Alright. 3x8. Button head. Yes, button head. Alright, we'll put this on first. So this is the roller bearing for the other side. Alright, it's going to cover this pulley here. So the thing is, this goes on before you mount the belts. So you think to yourself, okay, well, if I could make this a little bit loose so that I have some wiggle room to put the belt in there, then I can tighten it later. But the problem is the motor plate is sort of hiding that screw head. So you can't make it loose unless you do something like this, where you just, you know, take an Allen key and cut it down, so that way you can actually get in there and tighten it down, you know, later on in the build. So again, this is for if you don't want to disassemble the entire lay shaft and you want to keep this together, or assemble this first rather, and then put everything else together around it. You're going to need a little bit of play here in order to make this work out. So we're going to start there, and then we're going to take one of these little effers. It's going to go in here, and then here, right? And then we take one of these guys, and we're going to just tighten that down. We got to do that 3 times. Now here's why it sucks, because now I got to do the same thing here on this, like so. Okay, so I'm intentionally leaving a bit of slack here so I can slide this thing in and out, so I have enough room to put this screw in and this piece in, and then plop it through that hole. Okay, so then I'm going to do this. Alright, so now we have, now we got something here. Okay, not so bad. See, it was a lot worse when I did it on the ZX-S Evo, because I was kind of still figuring out how to put it all together without having an aneurysm. Okay, so that's part of it. You see this wiggles a little bit because we don't have the other half on, so now we got to do the other half. Let's make sure we have all the pieces. This. Yeah, that'll come later. Don't worry about that now. Okay. Now the fun part. So we have to put both belts on now, and the diff pulley, and all this other shit. So let's see, what do we want to start with? We're going to do, well, we got to put the rear belt on, clearly, because that's going to go on first. So we're going to do this. Let's see if I have enough wiggle room to get this in here. Okay, so now that this is in, well, I still have to get the other one in. Okay, so we're going to hold this here, And then we have to put on this other belt too. Because this is going to hold that down. Oh, what a pain. Okay, so now both belts are in, kind of, sort of. Now I'm going to take this. Oh, it's just barely, not quite doing it. I'd have to grind that down a little further. Shit. Unless I just loosen these a little bit. Give me a little bit more room here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Alright, so now that's on. We can tighten these back down. This and this one. So you're kind of like tightening things down and then loosening them again and then retightening them to get everything on. Okay, so now we have these belts on. Now, do we want to put the diff in now? Well, let's see. We got to put that guy in, and then blah blah blah. Okay, so let's see. This, gotta put the other roller in, and this is going to go on that side. So we need another 3x8 button head, and we're also going to need. What screws? Those are 3x15 button head. Alright. Do we need 3x15? Or can we do... because those are 16. I'm just a little worried that if I do 3x16 twice, there'd be an extra 2 millimeters that I don't have any budget for. But actually, you know what? No, I can do 3x16. That's fine. Never mind. I was worried about the two screw ends meeting in the middle of this, but clearly it's much wider than that. So, oh, right. I need a button head, not a flat head. My bad. Let's see. 3x20, flat head, hex head. Shit. I need 3x15 button head. Do I have any of those? Alright. Now I gotta look for other screws. Yeah, I guess there's some screws that I don't quite have. That's kind of annoying. I'm pretty sure they're not in here. I mean, I could use like a 3x12 hex head. That might be the least bad option. What's this guy? This is... oh, it's 3x15. Alright, do we have some more of these? Maybe. 2. Hey, oops. Where'd that go? Did I drop it? I just dropped it. Oh, there it is. And one more. Perfect. Okay. At least you guys don't have to watch me spend half an hour hunting for random screws. Alright, so again, we're going to do the same thing on this side with this roller bearing shaft thingy. We're not going to tighten it down all the way. I'm going to keep it a little loose, so that way there's some wiggle room. So when I mount this over this way, I can get over to this side without it getting sort of caught on the belts. Because if it's perfectly tight, then there won't be enough room to sort of mount this. Oh, sorry, actually this is on the wrong side. What am I doing? It goes in here. Idiot. I'm being stupid. That goes... yeah. Damn it. Damn it. Everything is going bad here. It goes down here on this side. My bad. And this hole, by the way, this is a slotted hole here. So you're actually apparently supposed to be able to use that to adjust the tension on the rear drive belt with this particular set of roller bearings, which is kind of neat, assuming that, you know, you can actually, you don't get that much movement to move it in and out, maybe, you know, a millimeter or two. So I guess as the belt wears in, you know, you want to be able to kind of loosen this, push it in this way a little bit to tighten up the belt. So this belt here is going to come in around the bearing like this. So that rear belt kind of folds around like that. And so you're kind of adjusting the tension here on this bottom side with this slot on the housing. Alright, so give that some wiggle room. And okay, next piece. How do we want to do this? Alright. So you could say we put this in first, and then I gotta do kind of the same thing with this. Oh yeah, that's right. The other bearing holder. I almost forgot. Okay, so I need to be able to mount that. Is there even enough space there? I guess there is. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Again, normally you would assemble this lay shaft as you're putting the gearbox together. So this bearing you would sort of mount through this way after you mount the bearing holder. But I want to do it the other way around because I'm a lunatic. So what I actually need to do is to stabilize this first. So let's see. Let me just find, yeah, I'll just take this guy here. Let me just do something to tighten this down, just to hold this in place, so that way I can put this guy in like this and try not to drop it. And the other problem, as you can see, is there we go. There's a little bit of play there. So I need to be able to push that out to push this bearing down enough so the bearing holder will actually hold that side. Alright. So I suspect this would be a little easier actually if I remove this, because then I can get my finger in here to hold. See, if I remove, I'm sorry, I hope the camera's capturing this. It might be easier if I put this in later, so I have enough space here to put my finger in and hold down this bearing holder. But I think I can still manage it. Line up these holes, and then we're going to screw in from this side. There we go. So let's see. Yep, we got it. Good. Okay. So now it's on there. I can take this off. You gotta make sure the belts aren't getting caught up in anything, because this belt has to come around this way. Alright, so that means I gotta wrap around this guy. Oops. It kind of sucks if you put it all together and you realize the belt is not where you want it to be. So this is going to come out like this, and this is going to come out like this. Good. Oops. Now I got to make sure that this belt is behind that roller. Okay, good. Now we repeat this process here. Like this. Like this. This is going to go in like so. Right, and we're going to do the same. 2, 3. Two. Okay, and then the third one right here. Alright. So I think we got most of it. Okay. Well, that was actually not nearly as bad as I had thought it might be, I guess because I've done it once before. Alright, so that's decent. Still not great. You know, you do need some experience and some manual dexterity to be able to put this thing together. It's, you know, it doesn't go together easily. The only thing I worry about really is later on, because I would like to make sort of a repro ZX-S with the 3D printed gearbox parts that I have, and you know, the reproduced like plate parts that I have. But the one piece that's going to be hard to replicate is these bearing holders on either side here, and I'd have to figure out a way of doing something like this without using this exact part, because you know, this part, unless you guys know what kind of piece this is called, is it a special kind of like shouldered you know, washer or whatever, you know, I don't know exactly what I would use to replicate this, or to replicate the effect this has on holding bearings in on a reproduction version of the ZX-S. That's the main sticking point that I have right now. Alright, so I need to use shock tower mount. Where is that? I believe I put all the plastic parts in here. Where'd you go? Let's see, steering rack, blah, blah, blah. And we have some other stuff. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. Good. It's reasonably clean, but I think we can do a little better than that. Let's see, where's my brush? So, yeah, I mentioned earlier I was playing a lot of Streets of Rage 4 instead of coming down here and working on RC stuff. I've actually been playing that game for a long time, pretty much since it came out. I'm a big Streets of Rage fan. I just keep playing it over and over and over again because it has really good replay value. And so I've just been trying to score a particular amount of points while beating the game in some of the harder settings. so I could get the highest ranking. And I haven't quite gotten there, but I'm close. In the old Streets of Rage games, like Streets of Rage 2, the hardest setting was Mania. And in Streets of Rage 4, they have Mania, and then they have Mania Plus, which is like ultra insane. To get a high score on Mania Plus is actually easier because they throw more enemies at you, which means you can string together bigger combos, which means you get a bigger points multiplier and you get more points. So to beat Mania Plus with an S ranking, which is the highest ranking, is actually easier than to beat normal Mania mode with an S ranking, strangely enough. Let's see, what do we got here? 3 by 8. Okay. So I beat it on Mania Plus with S ranking. That wasn't too bad. I beat it on Mania a bunch of times with an A ranking, which is good, but never with an S ranking. It's extremely hard. And so every night I gotta ask myself, do I want to come down here and build this, or do I want to try my luck again at Streets of Rage 4 and see if I can do even better than I did last time. So I've been doing a lot of that lately. Let's see, is that going on? Yeah, okay, good. Alright. On this side too. Let's see. Okay. Boop. After this, we're going to put the rear diff in, and I guess. Oh wait, no, I gotta clean the chassis, so I'm not gonna mount this on the chassis yet. I do have to clean the chassis before I do that. Alright, actually, before we do, so that spins fine, this spins okay. Good, alright. So let's get this slipper assembly on there. See, this slipper plate is or slipper pad, that's in so-so condition. Let's see if I can clean that up a little bit. Again, I don't intend on running this, so this doesn't have to be a perfectly functional pad. But all you need is a knife with a sharp edge. You could use a razor. That'll also work, and you just kind of scrape away at the surface here. Get all the dirt off. Like this. Flip it over, do the same. This will also slightly roughen up the surface, which is kind of what you want. Like when you buy a brand new slipper pad, you notice the surface isn't perfectly smooth. It doesn't have that polished finish. Scraping it with a knife like this kind of gets you back to that sort of slightly textured surface, right? So that's pretty good. Yikes. I don't want to cut myself there. Okay, so I'm going to put this on like so. This goes in here. And then we have this guy. Is that a thrust bearing or thrust bushing? So they gave me a bushing, which is interesting. Maybe the previous owner put a bushing in there, because I'm pretty sure the hyperclutch has an actual thrust bearing. Either way works though. It's fine. Alright, so there we go. Now we put this in. Now since this belt is already kind of tensioned because it's running around this roller bearing here, and I do have a little bit of slack in this, right? Remember, I didn't tighten it down all the way. So we're going to see if I can get this on and get this belt around the pulley without any real issues. It looks like that's not going to happen. A little too tight. Okay, so and that means what we got to do is we're going to take this off. Actually, you know what? Is that even more wiggle room? That's even more wiggle room. We'll just do that. Let's try that. Okay. Let's see. We'll go the top first, and then there we go. Perfect. Okay. So these bearings just kind of sit inside these little cups here in the gearbox housing, and we're going to tighten this down. Come on, get in there. All right. There we go. So basically, having this roller tensioner here coming in from the bottom side of the rear belt actually helps to hold the diff pulley in place into the top half of the gearbox. You can see I'm not, I can let it go and it's not going to fall because the belt tension is pulling up on the diff pulley and helping to hold that in there. So then you can just take this and just mount it onto the chassis once you get the lower half of the gearbox mounted up. So that's those are all spare screws and bearings and things. So this is the rear gearbox. What I'm going to do is, let's see, is there any gunk or anything that I have to clean up here? There's a little bit here. Alright, I don't think I'll need any special chemicals to clean up this tape gunk. Yeah, that's fine. Sometimes, like when the double-sided tape, residue is really caked on there, so maybe it's been there for a really long time, then I'll use Turtle X bug and tar remover. Does a really good job at dealing with that, but I don't have to do that right now. So let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to use some simple green. Just wipe this down, make it look nice and pretty. And there are some parts of this plate that are a little scuffed. Like you can tell, maybe like here there's a little scuff mark. That's from the front diff pulley actually grinding up against, or that's not the pulley, that's the belt right, rubbing against the carbon fiber here, right? So there's like little scuff marks here and there that, you know, you can't really do anything about unless you completely, I don't know, maybe refinish the surface. But like here, like you got some scratch marks here, right? That's, you can't really fix that. I guess if you want to like repolish it, you could make it look a little better, but you're still going to notice. So just, you know, for me, just clean it, make it not dirty, and go from there. It's perfectly fine. Alright. While we're at it, let's see if we can get some dirt off of the edges here. Thankfully, this chassis isn't beaten up like the ZX-S Evo chassis that I had. You know, these edges aren't like split or frayed or anything. This is actually a pretty good condition chassis, so thankfully I will not have to replace this. So I'm pretty sure, I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure Fiberlight only makes a ZX-S Evo chassis with a two-piece lower deck. I don't know if they have a repro ZX-S chassis with the kick-up. They do make chassis with kick-ups. I just don't know if they've done it specifically for the ZX-S. They've done it for a couple of YZ10s, which, you know, those are, you can definitely see those on their website. Pretty sure for the ZX-S it's just the Evo. So I certainly do not want to break this chassis. Okay, so that's all set. So it's getting late. We're gonna leave this here for now. So here you go, rear gearbox done. Next time what I'm gonna do, so I tend to go back and forth on a few things, we're gonna put in the lower gearbox halves on the rear, and this brace, I guess you would call it. So we're just gonna assemble that, throw this down, and then with whatever other time we have, I guess we'll start working on the front gearbox, right? Mount that, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But this is the hardest part of the build right here, and I hope that since I've actually shown you the build in real time, you can understand why it's a bit of a pain. Now, when I did this on the ZX-S Evo, it took me a lot longer than what you guys just saw in this video with me doing it here right now, because this is not my first time doing this. I've had some time to think about how to approach this based on the Evo project. So anyway, that's it for now, and thanks for watching.